flies are rampant this time of year. Have you guys had flies all over the place? We have. Hi, how are you? Jamie and I are excited to talk to you today about really how collaboration works in a marriage. We recently had an experience that was one in which we learned quite a bit, and we wanted to talk to you about how we collaborated through that particular experience and what it meant, and we'll somehow throw streaking in there. We don't know how, but it will happen. Anyway, let's start streaking. So, Miss Jamie, it was quite the experience to be able to think about how we communicated through a particular opportunity that presented itself.
Yes.
So let me just give a little bit of a backdrop, and then Jamie and I will talk about what it was that we did in order to collaborate through this particular experience. We, and I'd say this is over the last few weeks or so, we had presented to us an opportunity that could greatly enhance some results that we were trying to get. But it also required a level of risk that was much more than what we had previously taken. Mm-hmm. So when I presented this to Jamie and said, here's the opportunity, and here's what we get the opportunity to do, I'm excited for it. I'd like for us to consider it. What was your immediate reaction?
Immediate reaction? Of course you want us to consider it. It was much more risk. And there was a time element to it that this particular opportunity is kind of blossoming right now.
Right.
And we're taking advantage of it, but you wanted to take a greater portion of risk on to take a greater opportunity. And it was significant because we're already risking at some level, but you wanted to take it considerably
more.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot more.
A lot more.
However, I have learned from the past, and this is, again, giving full context to what it was that we're talking about. And by the way, the particulars of the detail doesn't matter. It's just know that it was an opportunity that presented itself to us that required a level of risk, and we were then presented with it and talking about it. And so I presented that to Jamie, and my intention was not to immediately implement what we needed to do to go after the risk. However, when Jamie heard me, she was immediately under the impression that that's how I wanted to march forward. Mm-hmm. Now, that is not without precedence, because in the past, we could tell the story of the black van.
I think we told it last time. Yeah,
we did. I moved forward very quickly.
Yes.
Okay. So if you haven't heard the last episode, go back and hear the episode of the black van. So in the past, I've moved very quickly. And so for you, I think it meant that you were going to hold back just a little bit, or you're on the other side of it. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
it's again a feeling of you've already decided what you want to do and you're just trying to convince me. And so so it's difficult for me to believe that you're just wanting to discuss it, because it feels like, no, this is what I want to do, but we've committed to being on the same page. So now I just need to convince you. So that's your premise. That was my premise.
And not an unfounded premise.
No.
Because I've done that before. I've been like, okay, I want to move forward with this. I need to figure out a way to convince her that this is the right way forward. Mm-hmm. However, this time with this opportunity, because of experiences that we've had in the past, that where I did, not really want to move forward, what I did want to do was talk with you in regards to...
Sorry.
That's okay.
Just need to move my chair
Jimmy
a little bit more forward. Go ahead.
But in regards, I wanted to talk with you and really explore this opportunity. And so one of the things that I had to do, and this is now we get into the collaboration of it and talk about how we started to work together, because it, first of all, is not a smooth road. It's a bumpy road. It's mm-hmm. one on which you travel, and there's a lot of twists and turns. To get to the top of the mountain of collaboration, it's not a straight shot. It is all over the mountain, and it's important to have some guardrails in place. And sometimes we break right through those guardrails and have to get back on the road. But all that being said, one of the things that I had to do was to convince Jamie, not that the idea was good, but more so that I was willing to listen, or to Yeah, to listen, to hear. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I feel like you had to convince me that you genuinely were just exploring the idea.
Yes.
Not that you had already made a decision and you
Right.
just needed me to be on board.
And I'm just going to be fully transparent. There is something inside of me that's like, well, if we just move forward, we could get this done. Mm-hmm. So I had to, of myself, be able to say, no, Jeff, you need to slow down and really explore what it is that this means and what it is that it could provide, and also put at risk, or send us, in a place where we didn't want to go or mm-hmm. be. I really need to explore all sides of that. So I had to put down some of my own feelings inside of myself to be able to say, no, what I really want to do is explore this. And I remember, because we were apart at the time yesterday when we were talking about this particular opportunity, and I was thinking to myself as I sat in the parking lot of Costco. I was going to go into Costco. Jamie was going to get her hair done. And I said to you, I really am interested in just exploring and having a full conversation about the opportunity, not that I'm trying to convince you that the opportunity is the right thing to do.
Right. And you have to slow down.
Yeah.
I feel like I have to put down my defenses because immediately when you come, immediately it's like block, because I already feel like, well, I've got to defend. And if I show that I'm in any way persuaded, we're going to be making a decision faster and farther than what I'm comfortable with.
And that's not unprecedented.
And so,
so you had a good reason to feel that way, mm-hmm. because there's been several times in our lives when we move forward with that. So the question that, or really the place where I wanted to explore is, how, after 34 years of marriage, do we allow each other the opportunity to change in regards to like something like this, where I was communicating that, no, I am different. I am doing it differently now. Mm-hmm. But you have past experience on your side to be able to say, well, every time in the past that we've done this, or I've given you a little bit, then basically we move forward with it. So what's to say that that's not going to be the case today? And
at one point in the conversation, I did say, there's a part of me that just wants to look at it and say, just do what you want to do. You can take the responsibility. You can just go do your thing. And I've got other things that I can be thinking about and doing. I don't want to be a part of this, was a little bit part of it.
And how come you felt that way? I mean, what was it that?
I think that it was sometimes it's kind of the fight or flight response. And there was a part that's like, well, I don't want to fight. So just, I'll run away and you go do your thing. And so I think that's what I had to. So, one of the things that I had to look at it and be like, no, you need to stay. You need to engage. You need to not be afraid. Not afraid. Afraid's not the right word, but just take on the challenge. I'm not a person that enjoys confrontation or conflict a lot, but I'm recognizing that conflict isn't bad. Conflict is essential. Like, if you don't have conflict, basically, I think you have people who aren't willing to express their opinions. And so recognizing that the conflict is okay, and working through it. How you work through the conflict and how to avoid it becoming contentious or angry, or that requires a lot of patience and trust and effort, a willingness to put effort in, and a willingness to be able to communicate honestly. And I'm thinking right now, obviously for us in a marriage, there's probably a little bit different boundaries in other situations. But for me, looking at it and being like, okay, this is a conflict. He feels passionately one way, and I feel passionately the very other way. And I was like, I can't just shut down and be like, no, I'm going to go to my corner and I'm not going to move at all. I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to budge. I'm not going to be persuaded. Or the other of throw up my hands. Fine, do what you want. You're going to do it anyway. Both of those were a way to escape the situation, a way to escape working through the conflict, a way to not have to be able to express my own opinions. And you had said earlier when we were talking about this, you had said, I have to slow down and listen to what's being said. And then you also said, and I need to work diligently to express myself in a way that she will understand. And by that, we were talking about that we come at things from different perspectives. And I think everybody in every communication situation, you have to recognize that the person that you're talking to is coming at this situation from a different perspective. And it takes effort in that communication process to help explain what your perspective is, to listen to what their perspective is, and to genuinely try to understand and come to a place where you're like, okay, now we're collaborating. I'm not bulldozing over your opinion. You're not bulldozing over mine. I'm not just laying down and getting run over, and you're not just laying down and getting run over. We're actually coming to a place where we've taken the time and the effort and the energy to look at the problem and to recognize that you have a perspective and I have a perspective. And as we take the time to understand each other's perspective and to be able to delineate our own perspective in a clear way, oftentimes we come to a solution that we're both okay with.
Yeah. I was thinking of something where when you said with conflict, you are like, fine, do what you want. Mm-hmm. Do you want to guess what my response is to conflict? If you were to take a guess, what would be just curious, what would be it's not a test. I'm just curious what you would think.
Oftentimes I feel like it's like, this is what's best. I'm going to go ahead and do it and she'll thank me later.
That is exactly, you nailed it exactly. That is exactly what I think. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. It'll be fine. And she'll thank me later. Now, when I've done that, I have been burned significantly. I mean, it's like I can name the times when I've been burned by that, and I've moved forward and thought, you know what? She's going to thank me for this a little bit later. Instead of me slowing down. So similar to what you were saying, instead of me going to the fight part of it, fight or flight, yours is the flight. I'm going to get out of here. You do what you want, you know. And for me, it's like the fight. I am going to do what I want. I am going to move forward. I am going to make it happen. Whereas the collaboration is the opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to follow my natural tendency. You're not going to follow your natural tendency. We're going to put both of those natural tendencies to the side and collaborate through it.
Yeah.
That has taken years of practice and skill.
Absolutely.
And here's one area in which I see it. I'm going to give a physical example of what I'm talking about conceptually. So Jami and I, we run together all the time now. I mean, and we have had the running streak for 10 years, going on 11 years now. Mm-hmm. In that time, we have learned how to run together. And how we were talking just this morning about neither one of us controls the pace. We run at the pace. And we've talked about this before, our pace. What I've found, though, and this is the physical example, this is the tangible example, when someone else runs with us, with Jami and me, one of our children says, oh, I want to go with you, and therefore we have them run with us. It's difficult because we've worked long and hard to get to our pace, and we know through nonverbal cues to speed up, to slow down, what it is that we're feeling at that particular time. And the child that is in there, or the guest runner, is someone we don't know how to read yet. And therefore, there's been times where I've been way ahead and Jami has been behind with the child, or she has been ahead with the child and I've been way behind, because we don't have that communication that's in place, that collaboration that's going on between her and I. Every time we run, there's a collaboration that's happening. Where are we running today? What is the pace that we're going to be running today? How far are we going to be running today? What does it look like? All of that happens without a lot of conversation.
Yeah, now
would you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, now. Before, it was a lot of work.
Years of conversation to get to that place. Yes. And I guess I think the reason we come back to this example often is because there are so many of these things that we've talked about while we've been on a run. So many of the lessons of collaboration that have come because we were trying to run together, that there was physical frustrations and so it was fun the other day, 4 days ago, I had asked you, have you ever been...
Oh, you're going to tell this story. I like it. You can tell it. Yeah.
Have you ever been the slower runner? Have you ever been the person that's all the time, that no matter what... You will always be the slower runner. Because I was trying to express, I was like, that is the position I'm in when I run with you. I could train and train and train and train. But the truth is if we train together and I will always be a slower runner than you are. And so I was trying to help you, like trying to get to this place where you're like, you don't know what that's like to always be. There's a lot of emotions you have to work through and not getting frustrated. And
I'm here to witness that Jami's prayers are answered.
So this was great.
I don't know if she was praying for this, but this is what happened.
It's definitely memorable, and I'm keeping it. The other day we'd had a long weekend, and it had come to, well, it was Saturday, so Friday had been a long day, and you were pretty tired, and you were looking forward to just going out and having a nice long run. And I wasn't going to run with you because I was tired. I'm like, I'm going to stay home this time. You can go. So a long run in
my book is like 8 to 9 miles, 6 to 8 miles, 8 to 9
That's
miles.
Right. I figured you'd do at least 6. I thought, there's a possibility he'll do 8. And so you were gone quite a long time.
And I was looking forward to this, just to relax. And I usually listen to General Conference while I'm running. And I just was looking forward to just a nice, relaxed pace of 8 miles, enjoying myself.
Yes. And so you step out and you get going, and you're a couple blocks away from our house?
If that.
And one of our neighbors,
a friend of mine who's a runner.
Yes, sees you and is like, oh, Jeff, we can run together. But the fun thing is that this friend of ours, he's a little bit older, but
he's almost 10 years older than me.
Okay, is he really? So he's almost 10 years older than you. But he was a walk-on at the BYU cross-country
track team,
cross-country team, running team. So he's one of those people that just makes running look so easy. And you look at him and you're like, oh, Marv's out again. But then if you were to run with him, you recognize the pace that he's actually running at. Yes. But you can't tell that when you're just looking at him because he looks so casual. He's just kind of out for a little Sunday stroll kind of thing. Yeah. And then you're like, dude, he's running 8-minute miles casually.
And that is not my pace. 8-minute miles, no. I was 8-minute miles a long time ago.
So now you have to tell the rest of the story
So I get up there, so we start running together, and he keeps his pace. And I thought, well, I somewhat asked to run with him. So it wasn't that...
Oh, okay.
Because I had come to the path, and he was running in that direction. I said, well, I'll run with you. And he was like, great. And he was keeping a pace, like Jami said, that was at 8-minute miles. And I do not run 8-minute miles. When I'm not running with you and I'm just running my own pace, it's usually like a 9:45 is what I average. So it's not much faster than what we run. But that's a minute and 45 seconds faster than what I run. So it came to the point where I was like, I cannot keep up. And I was already tired. We'd had, like Jami said, a long Friday.
It was dark. It was there was a storm. So you said it was windy and kind of cold.
Oh, man, the wind was blowing right in our face. And so I finally said to him, hey, Marv, go ahead if you need to, but I'm not going to be able to keep this pace. And so I slowed down. And he slowed down with me, but not really.
He tried to slow down, but it's hard for those personalities.
Oh my goodness, but every time he would surge ahead and come back and surge ahead and come back, and it was very difficult. And I was thinking about Jami and what she had said to me. Have you ever been the slower runner? And I'm like, I have, and I know what it feels like. And Marv was wonderful. This is nothing against Marv. Marv was wonderful. Great. He was great. He was talkative. He was sharing with me all kinds of great things that he and I were talking about. But I did notice that he had to keep slowing down. Mm-hmm. And I was not picking up the pace because I wanted to complete the 8 miles. At the pace he was at, 8, I may have gotten a mile in.
Like, I can maintain that for a mile, maybe 2.
But I guess my other mistake was I told him, well, I want to do about 8 miles today. He's like, all right.
When you walked in the door, I bless my cute heart, I just started laughing.
She just started laughing at me.
I did start laughing. But it is an interesting, so there are emotions in line with when you're put in that position. And those are some of the things that we've talked about as we've and that has lent itself to a lot of these conversations that we've had in learning to collaborate, because the truth is Marv is a faster runner than you are.
No matter what.
No matter what. And he doesn't have to try as hard to be at that pace.
Right.
But there was a benefit to running together.
Yeah.
And so, but it's an interesting thing.
I did get to run faster. I did run faster than what I was planning on.
So, and that's another
I don't know
point.
if that's a benefit, but.
Well, and the thing that I look at is I'm like, you were running faster than you would have normally and expending a lot more energy but nevertheless, it still wasn't at his pace. Like, he had to slow down. You had to speed up a little bit to find this pace that you could run so that you could enjoy running together at some level.
True. Absolutely true.
And so I think that's why we go back to that so often, is because
running
there's
together
emotions.
is a true collaboration.
Yes.
And during that collaboration, like you were saying, I'm putting down motions, you're putting down emotions. We're finding where we need to get to the place that allows us to really communicate.
Yes.
And I wanted to go back to something else you said, because it kind of sounded like you say I need to mansplain. And that's something that we talked a little bit about as well. Because to communicate in a way that you understand can sound like it's this patronizing or mansplaining type of communication,
or any kind of communication that's saying,
or if you're woman-splaining to me or whatever it is,
let me lower this down so that you can understand it. It can sound patronizing,
right. And that's not what we're talking about.
And I think it's important to recognize that. So there's 2 things I want to say about this. One, I think it's important to recognize, and that's why I had said before, that everybody comes to a conversation with their own preconceived, their own experiences.
I call it their filters. They come with their own filters.
The experiences that they've had, the knowledge that they have, like all of these things come into play. And so oftentimes you'll use a word that for you has one level of connotation because of the experiences you've had, but that may have a completely different connotation to me because of my experiences, even though we're using that same word. And so we have to come to a place where there's a point in understanding. And that's where I think a lot of misunderstandings come.
Well, you can even look at the word run. To Marv,
yes,
run is 7 or 8 minutes a mile. To me, run is like 9:40, 10:30.
Right.
To someone else,
to me, it's a 10:15.
To Eliud Kipchoge,
right.
It's 4 minutes and 33 seconds.
So when someone says, I'm going to go out on a run, there's a huge amount of variability in that, depending on their experience their levels, what their desires are. Yes. Right. And then that's not even taking into account a person's mood during the, you know what I mean, how that changes. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into this level of communication. And so I think sometimes looking at it and saying, well, I need to explain it in a way that you understand, is not saying, let me dumb this down for you. It's looking at it and saying, I need to understand how you're understanding this so that I am communicating.
I think it's best to say in a language that you understand.
Yes. And
because you speak a language and I speak a language. Now, the language that we speak to communicate the words is English. Mm-hmm. But behind English words that we use are, like what we just described here, all types of innuendo, experience. Mm-hmm. When I say run, that means several different things to several different people. And therefore, being able to get clear communication is a difficult part in collaboration.
We've spent years getting to a place that when you say, I want to go on a run, I know what that means. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, I can do that with you. Yeah. And there's times that I'm like, well, do you want a long run? Like, I'll have to clarify a little bit more. Yeah. Yes. And so I think that's the one thing. The other thing I guess I wanted to communicate is that sometimes I feel like how we respond to people's questions has a huge amount of impact on whether or not they're going to trust us by asking another question. So I don't know if that made sense, but when somebody asks a question, there is a level of vulnerability to that. And the way that we respond to that question indicates to them how vulnerable they can be in the future. In other words, if I respond to that question in a way that shuts them down, they're not going to be as open in the future. If I respond to that question in a way that's like, and even a question that sometimes people ask us questions and we can be surprised that they don't know. Yeah. Like genuinely, you're like, do you not know that?
You don't know the answer to that?
You don't know the answer to that. But it's interesting that we can have experiences where we can have a breadth of knowledge or a depth of knowledge in something that's very particular that we've studied, but then there may be something that is very well known to other people that you're like, I just didn't know that.
Yeah.
I experience that a lot with my teenagers in the sense that they have a lot going on in their lives that is changing. And there's a lot of things that they all understand as a group of teenagers that I have to be like, I don't understand. You have to explain that to me. You have to explain it to me like from the beginning, because I don't understand the context. The other day?
Someone was saying that's cat. That's
cap.
Cap?
That's cap.
What were they saying? I thought it was cat.
No, I think it was cap, like the cap, like that's top. That's.
Listen to us. We're trying to figure it out.
Even know.
We don't
See,
even know.
The whole point.
Yeah.
Somebody says something, you're like, I don't know what that means. That is.
Therefore, it's important to slow down and to get clarification on what it is you mean. Mm-hmm. And in the midst of emotion, and especially talking of where we started with this whole conversation, with this opportunity, that can be difficult because there's all kinds of emotion that's linked to it as well. And all kinds of judgment based on past communications. And being able to set those aside and allow an individual, especially one that you know really well, with Jami and I, being through these conversations, even doing this podcast, this is now our 400 and what are we at? 400 and some odd episodes of this particular podcast. And we've had to learn.
It's a lot like our running journey.
It really is. We've had to learn how to work with each other. And there's been times when we've been like, we've scrapped a couple of shows just all together. We're like, you know what? That one's done. We got in a full fight, or we were upset, or it felt really wonky. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's like you're trying to throw the car into second gear without the clutch, and you're trying to get through the stoplight, and you're a new driver and you just can't make it go. And so you just trash it. You're just like, you know what? Today's not the day.
Yep. And times that we've gotten into discussions that I'm like, I did not want to go there.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some boundaries and limits that we set for guardrails. That's what I really love is guardrails. Guardrails, if you're going up a steep mountain pass, the guardrails are helpful to not have you go off the cliff and die. Mm-hmm. And that's really what happens within our conversations and collaboration is through the years we've set up some guardrails. Now, there are times that we'll talk about the guardrails, and is that guardrail still needed, or does it need to be expanded or contracted? But
I like that analogy because the guardrail, I'm thinking of a mountain road. I look at it and I'm like, my guardrail might be in the middle of the street because I want it so far away from the edge of the mountain that and you're like, okay, but only one car can go and we're way slowing down because now, do you know what I mean? I've brought the guardrails. It's a one-lane road
because they're so tight.
Yes, and so evaluating where those guardrails are. But I think I love that what you said, that acknowledging that guardrails are good. They are a good thing, and maybe taking responsibility for where they get placed. When do we need them? How close to the edge of the mountain do they need to be? How close to the road do they need to be? And that is where I feel like a lot of our collaboration comes in, and where we've had to learn to respect one another for our feelings. And in that respect, I think we've learned to recognize the strengths that we're each bringing.
Yeah.
And also corollary to that, because I believe every strength has a weakness, we also see the weaknesses that come with that. And learning to lean into those strengths and to recognize that seeing the weakness isn't bad for either one of us. Like me seeing yours or me seeing mine, that's not bad. That's a good thing. And learning to work with it.
Yeah. I think one of the other areas, in speaking of working with weakness and being able to move forward, one of the other areas where we've learned, or I'll use me, I learned a lot, is the ability to forgive one another for missteps in the past, for maybe breaking through guardrails that we shouldn't have broken through. And then being able to trust each other that when I say, I'm not going to make this decision without you, I'm not going to move forward without you, that really means what I say it means. And knowing that there's been past experience where that hasn't meant what I said it meant, and now it does, those small instances of trust build up the opportunity for us to collaborate better and more succinctly in the future. I would say today, you and I, when we're up against a difficult conversation, like for example this one that we were just in, we're much more apt to seek for a common ground than we were in the past.
Yeah.
We are, and what's neat about this, just to put a bow on this, is yesterday we talked through this, and then last night we've gotten a couple of books to help us decide how to make this opportunity as well. So we've researched and sought stuff out. We came across a particular chapter, or it's actually a section of the book, it's a section of a chapter that answered almost 3 of the concerns that the both of us have had, and how we have approached it both from different sides. But this gave us that collaborative zone that allowed us to say, okay, we know how to do this. And this morning I was able to go right to what it was we need to do and say, here's what I propose. And that was, for both of us, okay, that makes sense. We can move forward with that.
I've been thinking about, let's see if I can get this quote, because going back to talking about seeing each other's weaknesses, what did they say? They said, when you're looking at getting married, go in with your eyes wide open. And then he said, as soon as you're married, shut one eye for a little bit. I may have butchered that quote, but the kind
with them half shut.
Half shut. Yeah. The idea being that pay close attention, and then but once you're married, sometimes there's things that you're like, okay, you have to get used to. I feel like we've gotten to a place now that we are able to look at some of those things that we shut our eyes to before.
And have our eyes wide open.
And I was thinking that it's changed in our level of communication, in the sense that we used to have this joke that when we would get into some of these difficult conversations, one of us would say, well, can I be honest with you? And we would joke that we're like, well, have you been lying?
Right.
But we used that word, like, can I be honest with you? And then it kind of went to a place where it said, okay, well, I'm going to be candid. In other words, I'm going to cut to the chase and say, we don't have to tiptoe around as much as we used to. I'm just going to go straight to the point and say it. And now I feel like our language has turned into, I'm going to be completely transparent with you. And
that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about our progression of language in that way. So we went from
Can I be honest
to I'm going to be candid to
I'm going to be
fully transparent.
And not that I'm saying everyone has to use those words, but it helped me to recognize that there was
finish your point. Yeah.
There was a progression, that the honesty was like, I'm going to step out on a limb here and I'm going to be honest. And it's not that I was lying before, but I wasn't willing to tell you everything.
Than what I was.
And then candid was kind of like, I'm not going to do the whole big dance like we've done in the past. I'm going to go straight to the point, because we've developed this level of trust that I can speak more candidly, and I'm just going to come out and say it because I'm not as afraid that you're going to judge me.
When we say we're going to be candid, is there may be a level of hurt that's associated with this.
Yeah, it's truthful. Like this, this truth could be a little sharp.
Yeah.
Transparency is like, I'm going to give you the whole picture here. And what that I feel like that one is to the level of like, you're going to see all of it, even the parts that I hide from everybody else. I don't want anybody else to see that this is how I really think about it, or this is.
That's really, really good.
Because we've both reached this
Did you
point.
Just come up with this just now?
Just was thinking about it.
Oh my goodness!
But the transparency is like that's the years of us getting to this place that I'm like, and you're okay with saying, I'm going to let you see all of it, even though part of what I'm letting you see I don't like about myself, and I'm working on changing it. but I'm still going to let you see it because it helps you understand that you're right. I really am feeling this way, and I don't want to feel this way, but I'm working on it. But you're right. I do feel that way. That level of communication. That's
really good. Can I put a little spin on what I heard you say? Mm-hmm. Can I be transparent with you? Here's what I was thinking in my mind as you were explaining all that so beautifully. Is honest with you is I'm going to test the waters. I'm still self-protective. Mm-hmm. I'm not really going to allow you in, but for this little part. Candid is I'm attacking. I'm saying
I don't know if it's I'm attacking.
I know,
as much.
But hold on. This is my thing. So I'm looking at it as I'm going to be candid with you. Yes, I trust you, but man, I'm going to get my feelings out there.
Okay.
Whereas transparent is all of it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm going to share with you where I'm going to be vulnerable and share with you the parts of my life that I don't really like about myself. And I'm also going to share with you some of the things that you said that I took in one way or another that may have been hurtful or not hurtful, but I'm going to be fully transparent in those things. And I think transparency then is the best state in which to be, and it takes some energy and trust to get there. Did you say it takes time?
Yes, and experiences
Would you say it takes experience or time? Would it be because in other words, some people may get to a level of transparency in a lot less time than what other people do. But it's like the experiences that you have together.
That's what I feel like it is. Yeah. I don't know that I would, and I guess I say time because those experiences come through time. I think it's a commitment to not give up on the shared experiences, to work through it, to come back to it again and say, can we work through this? Can we get to this next place?
You've often said this. One of the saddest stories that we ever watched was a couple that got stranded in a snowstorm. And ultimately, years later, after they were rescued, they went through this horrendous experience together.
The whole documentary was this experience where they were driving. It was like in Idaho, and they ended up getting lost. They took a road in a national park, and they got stuck in snow, and literally, was it Wyoming?
I think it was.
It was a national forest though.
Yeah.
Like they were way lost.
They were lost.
And it was
in
them.
A snowstorm.
It was the two of them and their new baby.
Yeah.
And so the documentary is how they survived, and it talked about like her melting snow and putting it in the baby. Like it was a very dramatic experience.
Massive. Yeah.
And then at the end, it tells about how they're rescued. I don't even actually remember how they were rescued, because I remember just at the very end, they're interviewing him again, and kind of in a little bit of a side note, you find out that they ended up getting divorced. And it was sad to me because I thought, here are two people that have this shared experience that no one else will understand at the level that they have.
Right.
Like they shared this experience in a way that truly can't be understood by other people. And I think that oftentimes that when you go through something that harrowing in a marriage, you really do kind of have two paths. It can bring you closer together, or it can take you farther apart. And the reason it was sad to me is because the challenge that comes after an experience like that is real. Like working through it, learning not to blame each other, figuring out, like, those things are hard. They are hard things to do. I think about people that lose a child.
If you would have taken that road that I told you to take, I mean, you can dwell on those places, and that can cause the bitterness and the separation, rather than you know what, we took that wrong road, and look at what we're able to do. But just
working through all of that, like getting to this place where you can work through those experiences, but at a place where you find a way that it brings you closer together, that you look at it, and it does require understanding and forgiveness, and all of that is a part of it. But the ability, what you get on the other side, when you go through something like that, it literally is like the tempering that metal goes through, like the heat and the fire is so painful, but if you make it through, you become tempered. In other words, you're stronger. You're not going to break or shatter the next time something hard comes along.
Yeah.
And so that's what I think about when you say, does it take time? Or I'm like, it takes working through those tough experiences. And it's hard, and it's
And so the
messy,
time
and it's
could be-
complex.
Sometimes it takes longer to work through those experiences, and sometimes not as long. The key is to continue to work through it. One of the phrases that often people use is "never let the sun set on." What is it?
Never let the sun set on an argument.
On an argument or
Is that
something
what
like
you're
that.
thinking
Yeah.
of?
And what we've come to learn is that doesn't mean literal sun, because sometimes you just got to go to bed. But what it means is work it all the way through until it becomes a strength in your marriage, not a wedge.
And be able to not give up on it.
Yeah. Wow, this has been great. Thank you
Oh.
for the conversation. Hopefully you have enjoyed the conversation as well. If you would like to ask any questions or give any comments or feedback, maybe something you've learned, shoot an email to me or Jami. I'm Jeffery, Jeffery, at mystreaksapp.com, or
Jami, Jami, at mystreaksapp.com.
Until we talk again, we hope you have a marvelous, fantastic, wonderful day. And as always,
Keep streaking.